I wanted to thank you all for coming today. I have the pleasure of introducing our welcoming speaker this morning. We have someone who has been an advocate for energy efficiency and weatherization, renewable energy and environmental issues all together. He was the Chief of Staff for us over at CEQ and now is the Director of the White House Office of Public Engagement. So I hope you'll help me join me in welcoming John Carson.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the White House. Welcome to everyone who is watching us live today on live stream. I want to kick today's discussion on weatherization by thanking each and every one of you here today who have been part of making history together. We together, the federal government, those of you in the supply chain, those of you at the front line in every one of those homes, together we weatherized over 1 million homes. So thank you. Now, for those of you following along today, or those of you who brought your BlackBerries or iPhones with you, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, but we want to be tweeting all day long, we want to be blogging all day long, we want to use today's event to get as many people as excited about weatherization and what we got done together as those of you in the room today. If you know what a hashtag is, and if you don't, you should figure it out. We're going to be using the hashtag WXWH, Weatherization in the White House. Hashtag WXWH. I will be tweeting a little bit later. And that's really the main ask that I have for each and every one of you. This story of what we got done together and of the jobs that have been created and the jobs and the companies that have been launched because of this effort, this story needs to be told. And if we've learned anything, it's that you can't tell these stories at the macroeconomic level. When we talk about infrastructure, we don't talk about treasury bonds and investments. We talk about the bridge over Highway 14 that needs to get rebuilt and the construction companies that need to be put back to work. And when we talk about weatherization and energy efficiency and what it has done to communities across the country, you all here today are the stories that we need to lift up. The companies that were a part of getting those 1 million homes weatherized, the companies that are still involved in energy efficiency and creating jobs today. You can't tell this story at the national level. You need to tell it each home at a time, each electricity bill that is cheaper than it was 2 years ago, each company involved in the supply chain that's making a difference. And that is the ask that I want to kick today off with. If you are on Twitter, tweet about it. If you've got a blog, blog about it. If all you've got is a bulletin board that you can pin something up, and make sure everyone in each of your organizations, everyone in each of your companies feels as much a part of this as those homeowners who are benefiting from the work that we got done together. Thousands of people were involved in this effort, and thousands of people are now part of this effort that's been launched out of what we got done together. And that's our ask of you today, that you help tell this story, and that from this White House event today, an issue that we care so deeply about, as well as all of you, you help us spread the word. I want to give quick thanks to the National Association for State and Community Service Programs and Advocates for Other America, who are just a huge help in pulling this together. Tim Warfield, Alice Galston, Brad Penny, and Arlie Johnson. Could you all quick stand up? And we so much appreciate the work you did to pull this all together, and we appreciate everyone's time today. But as I said, throughout the day, when you get that moment to help spread the word, and when you go back home, and if it's just finding 3 people in the grocery store this weekend to tell the story of what we got done together, please do it. And to kick things off today, what's so exciting about this, for those of us in the White House, in the administration, who've been working on this issue, is I think when we were in those very long meetings about what was going to be in the Recovery Act, when we were in those interminable meetings about how to execute the Recovery Act, and you all remember those moments we were talking about, I think we all had a picture in our heads of a day like today, when we would get to sit down with and have a conversation with the people who are on the front lines, who made this happen, and the people who I think most importantly are realizing what we all hoped would be the outcome of this, that it wouldn't just be one program, that long-term economic development and jobs and energy savings would be created all across the country. And so it's with great pleasure that I get to introduce the person who was spending those longest hours here at the White House, the person who was an advocate long for these issues before they were as broad as they are now, someone who had all of you in mind as we were fighting to make this a reality, the President's chief energy advisor, Heather Zeichel.
Thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to join you this morning. I thought I'd start the morning out by giving you a bit of a bird's eye view of the administration's energy and climate policies. Shortly after the president took office, we unveiled an all-of-the-above energy approach. We said, let's develop more natural gas and oil, but let's also double down on our opportunities to improve energy efficiency, to invest in renewables, and to make sure that we're producing more solar and wind power and other clean sources of energy. Since then, our dependence on foreign oil has gone down every year the president has been in office. In fact, over the last year alone, we've reduced net imports by 1 million barrels a day. The United States is now producing more domestic oil than at any time in the last 8 years. But we're also producing more natural gas and biofuels than at any time in our history. And since 2008, America has doubled the use of renewable energy like solar power and wind power. But I mostly want to highlight the administration's work around energy efficiency because this has been an important part of the president's overall agenda. From our perspective, improving energy efficiency, whether it's in the transportation sector or the built environment, is truly the fastest, cheapest, and easiest way to decrease our dependence on oil, reduce pollution, and save families and businesses money on their energy bills. One of the very first actions that the president took when he came into office was to direct the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Transportation to work with the auto industry and develop new fuel economy standards for cars and trucks. That was an important step for two reasons. First, the vast majority of the oil we use today, close to 70%, is in the transportation sector. Second, at the time, fuel economy standards had not been changed for more than 30 years. But with the president's leadership, we were able to move forward. Taken together, the standards we proposed span models 2011 to 2025 and represent the toughest standards in history. Under our final program, average fuel efficiency for cars and trucks is expected to nearly double, reaching an average performance equivalent of about 55 miles per gallon by 2025. Beyond the transportation sector, this administration has taken action to improve efficiency in the built environment. Since October of 2009, DOE, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, have jointly, as John Carson said, completed energy upgrades in more than 1 million homes across the country. For many families, these upgrades save over $400 on their heating and cooling bills in the first year alone. That program, as everybody in this room knows, has also been a very successful job creator. To complement those efforts, the administration has also taken new steps to help families save money by increasing the efficiency of everyday appliances, like refrigerators and dishwashers. Under this administration, the Department of Energy has finalized new standards for more than 30 products, which are estimated to save consumers more than $300 billion through 2030. And as many of you know, through programs like the President's Better Buildings Challenge, we're focused on how we can work across sectors to make commercial buildings 20% more efficient by 2020. Achieving that goal could save businesses more than $40 billion a year on energy costs and create new jobs along the way. On the jobs front, we were very excited to announce just yesterday that the administration is taking new steps to support training programs for Americans working in building operations. The Department of Energy and the Department of Commerce have selected 3 centers for building operations excellence. These centers will be eligible for up to $1.3 million to develop worker training programs focused on building retuning, energy management, and building operations. In the coming weeks and months, we'll keep moving forward. We'll be focused on finalizing the next round of the historic fuel economy standards for cars and trucks, building out new initiatives around energy efficiency in the industrial sector, and continuing the successful programs like the Better Buildings Challenge and the administration's Green Button Initiative. And where there are opportunities to bring down barriers that remain in the way of greater efficiency, whether it's with or without Congress, we'll continue to act. The bottom line is that the President believes very strongly that energy efficiency is one of the best opportunities to enhance our energy security, create new jobs, and make our economy stronger. I just want to again echo John Carson's words of thanks for all of the support that you have given the administration. Everybody in this room is evidence of the benefits of the clean energy economy, and it's truly been an honor to work with many of the people in this room. We look forward to continuing that work into the future. And with that, I'm going to introduce your next speaker, the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Energy Efficiency, Kathleen Hogan. All the successes that we mentioned here in the energy efficiency space lead directly to Kathleen Hogan's front door. She's been an amazing advocate not only in this position at DOE, but has a long, long history of supporting innovative programs that will help build the clean energy economy. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Kathleen. Thank you.
And I'm going to say a few words as our panel comes up and joins me here. So thank you for that very nice introduction. I'm pleased to be here as well to help celebrate this important program and this important point in time. I think what our panel is going to show is really how valuable energy efficiency is to the country and particularly with the low-income community and really beyond. We've heard the numbers, 1 million homes weatherized, hundreds of dollars of savings for each family in each one of those homes. But we also know the program has done more than that. It has supported tens of thousands of direct jobs. It's helped build a trained workforce that can participate in a growing home improvement marketplace. And it has truly led to the development of many tools and procedures now used in these programs across the country. And you can look at those contributions, and they're pretty tangible, important contributions, but the value and the power of the weatherization program is really even broader than that. Due to the materials and equipment that go into these homes. And I think that's really part of the broader power of energy efficiency, both the direct jobs as well as the vast other aspects through the supply chain that help our economy grow. And we're going to do, in this panel, a bit of a deep dive into the weatherization program. But for a moment, I just want to echo a couple of the things that Heather Zeichel mentioned because of the great power of energy efficiency and some of the other things that we are doing to tap into this. We really are doing, and that is why the President is backing the Better Buildings Challenge, as an example, to spur investments in our commercial and industrial sectors. And we have a great set of leaders that have come forth to help us drive those improvements as well. And then just this week, we announced Starbucks and Staples joining in that effort. And the federal government is here to do its part as well. The President challenged the federal government to drive over $2 billion of investment over the next 2 years through performance-based contracting, and the federal government is stepping up to meet that challenge. And then back at the Department of Energy, we of course keep doing things in partnership with the community so we can keep doing things better. So we're inventing sort of new mile per gallon ratings for homes so people can better understand the efficiency of their homes and the things they can do to improve them, and as well as the new Green Button initiative that can pull forth the data that we need that underlies so much of what we want to understand about our homes and our opportunities for improvement. So with that, let's dive into the weatherization program and some of these supply chain issues. I'm going to introduce the panel members quickly, and then they'll each have about 8 minutes to tell us their aspect, their good story. So first we have Annette Odrin. She's a sales consultant for Advocates for the Other America, a nonprofit dedicated to championing causes for low-income Americans in Washington, D.C. Next is Chris Hoch. He's the president and owner of National Fiber since 1997, during which time he's established cellulose as the only local green, affordable, high-performance insulation in the Northeast. Next is Benito Hernandez, the co-founder of BNS Company, a residential retrofit and construction company that's been working in the residential housing industry since the late 80s. And then next is Rod Williams. He's a founder and owner of Energy Specialists, Inc. In Alaska, Energy Savers, Inc. in Washington State, and Energy Savers, Inc. in Oregon. So we look forward to hearing from each of you, and we will start with Annette.
Alrighty. Good morning, and thank you for being here. Let's see if I can point this at my face. I'm about a foot shorter than some of these guys. Why WAP? The rest of the good folks who came from across the country to speak today will answer different parts of that question. I want to make sure we cover one that isn't mentioned often enough when we're discussing weatherization. And that's something that was mentioned earlier by these folks, but it kind of gets lost a lot of the time. It's our national dependence on outside sources of energy. Our dependence on foreign oil, which can be withheld or interrupted, is a national security issue. U.S. borrowing to purchase approximately 40 to 50% of the oil we use adversely affects our economy and contributes to our deficit. Saving these monies, the interest payments that follow, and the uncertainties of being dependent on others for such a crucial need makes energy, as we probably already know, the national security issue of our time. Although they have different opinions on what's desirable, both parties agree that developing new sources of energy is crucial. But developing those new supplies, while extremely important, is expensive. Decreasing the amount that we waste, thereby freeing up domestic energy to replace the foreign oil, is key to strengthening our nation's nation's energy security. And energy conservation is by far the least expensive new source that we could have. Now, of course, and we talked about this when we were discussing writing this whole thing, oil is not the only form of energy which is conserved through weatherization projects. Okay, well, funding weatherization increases our energy independence through a variety of practical measures. Weatherization crews tighten the building shell and add insulation to lower heating and cooling demands. They install more efficient appliances, such as heating and cooling systems, water heaters, or light bulbs that use less energy to do the same job. Since residences account for approximately 20% of our domestic energy use, it becomes clear that work done by this network positively affects our national economy. The folks on our first panel represent the hardworking people at hundreds of companies, large and small, across the United States, whose daily work supports the Weatherization Assistance Program. Collectively, members of the WAP supply chain make the products and provide the services the network needs to function. Everything from software to testing equipment, insulation to installation machines, furnaces and water heaters, windows to training to caulk. Well, most of these companies also sell both to the WAP agencies and private contractors. Weatherization is an important part of their customer base. Cuts to weatherization funding mean jobs are lost, not only at every weatherization organization, but also at every WAP support company. And these American companies provide products and services from the start of the application process all the way to the final punch list. Software developers, and I see some in the audience here, software developers streamline the job of determining eligibility, tracking, and reporting projects. Initial inspections are done by specially trained and experienced crew leaders. They bring US-made equipment to test for everything from potentially life-threatening health and safety issues like the presence of carbon monoxide and combustion gases in the air, and gas leaks from both combustion appliances and, oh heavens, building performance issues, comfort issues like the envelope and ductwork leakage. When the rehab work begins, crews arrive well-trained, thanks to the extensive WAP training center network. Dense packed insulation, like cellulose manufactured by National Fiber, represented here by Chris Oak, from Belchertown, Massachusetts. I love that name. I had to put that name in, Belchertown. Is installed with equipment like that made from Intech in Colorado. In fact, information from Conservation Services Group in Westboro, Mass. shows that fully 94% of the materials incorporated into a weatherization project are made right here in the U.S. And this is a line straight from Steve Cole, and anybody who's heard this, I'm stealing it with his approval, okay? Furnaces are too large to ship, windows are too fragile, insulation is too bulky and cheap, and the caulk and other incidentals are made at U.S. chemical companies. So now we're done quoting Steve. On a limited budget per job, these crews repair where they can and replace what they must so that when they leave, the residence is not only more energy efficient and comfortable, but it's healthier and safer too. You can see that most of the weatherization jobs can't be outsourced because weatherization, the crews do the truly nasty, disgusting, dirty work of improving some of the worst housing stock in the United States. I don't know how many of you would like to crawl under a crawl space or into an attic of someplace that's been infested with rodents or anything like that. These people do that kind of thing. God bless, okay? I'm so glad they do. Anyway, that's an aside. That's not in here. But it's true, they do. According to information gathered from WAP records, the work done by this program returns $1.80 for every dollar spent, and that's just the energy savings, okay? The other part of it is that the paychecks are plowed back into the local economy. As you said, tens of thousands, and that came right from her. I was supposed to say thousands, but she just said tens of thousands of people, approximately, according to Bob Adams, if you're here, I got this from him, we're guessing about 25% of them, veterans, are employed through every step of the weatherization process. According to the DOE, in the fourth quarter of 2011, the WAP network directly, this is just WAP, not the supply chain, directly created or retained approximately 10,000, I love this, approximately 10,513. Very approximate, that's a general figure. All right, some would argue if weatherizing your home results in such cost-effective savings, then the free market will ensure that it all gets done. It's great. And certainly, many of the companies here have both their low-income program and help folks that are more market rate, you know, middle or upper income. But the people who can least afford it are folks that, you know, they can't afford to have this work done. They can't hire somebody to come in and take care of it, and they might be spending upwards of 15% of their income on their energy needs. So, the sad thing is, as our economy pushes more people out of the middle class and into eligibility for these programs, we're seeing cuts to the programs in terms of the funding. So more people eligible, less money to go around. From 2000 to 2010, the average national budget for the WAP, right around $220 million, if you average over the last 5 years, pre-ARA. The addition of $5 billion spread of the ARA, you know, I should never try to read stuff because you get lost and then you're doomed. Anyway, the addition of $5 billion spread over 3 years of ARA, along with new requirements for Davis-Bacon and historic preservation, constituted an astonishing change for everyone. And we all know that partially due to some stumbles in the early days of ARA and partially due to serious issues in the greater economy, funding for 2011 was reduced to $174.8 million. And then fiscal 2012, the federal budget was again slashed to $68 million, with $3 million of that staying in DC for training and technical assistance. So we're going from an average of about $220 million down to $68 million. As you would expect with such a reduction, the layoffs at weatherization agencies and their supporting companies have already begun. So the rest of this panel will cover some of those issues in greater detail. Thank you.
Good morning. I'd like to tell you why the weatherization program is so important. While weatherization has definitely provided jobs, the weatherization program was originally conceived as a way to save energy. Many homes in the United States still have no insulation or inadequate insulation, and they waste energy. That is easily verified through the use of blower door testing with infrared scanning. While alternative energy is necessary for our future, it is still not fully developed, it is still expensive, and the necessary equipment is increasingly being manufactured abroad. Energy conservation through the weatherization program is available right now. It is relatively inexpensive. It is entirely local, and it can reduce the energy needs of a building to the point where alternative energy sources become economically viable. How the weatherization program works? Since their inception, weatherization programs have used cellulose as the insulation of choice. It has high R value, effective air blocking, excellent fire retardancy, has superb sound blocking. It has 84% recycled material, a low embodied energy, a low carbon footprint, and it is inexpensive. Through insulation and air sealing, the energy requirements of a building can be reduced by as much as 50%. And in fact, insulation with air sealing save more energy than all other energy-saving measures combined. Local installers are trained and ready to work with the state weatherization programs. Inadequate insulation is removed, air sealing is done where necessary, and the cavities are dense packed with insulation to improve the R value and reduce air infiltration. Weatherized buildings use less air conditioning in the summer, less heat in the winter, and this saves money. How the weatherization program creates jobs. Cellulose insulation is typically made by small regional manufacturers. Due to the economics of the industry, low margins, and expensive transportation, these jobs will not be outsourced overseas. The raw materials and the equipment are all available in the United States, and the labor is all local. The insulation is installed by local contractors who purchase their materials and equipment from local distributors or the manufacturer. It is a stimulant to local economies to have the weatherization program be adequately funded 1 year, where contracts are secured, crews are hired and trained, materials are ordered, and infrastructure is built. And then it's damaging and demoralizing to those same local economies when the weatherization program is dramatically cut back the next year, where jobs are cut, local funding for training is wasted, material orders are canceled, and the infrastructure collapses. These weatherization programs deserve to be consistently well-funded. Why the weatherization program is good for our country. It reduces the amount of paper going to landfills. It stimulates the local economy through job growth. It reduces the demand for energy and increases our energy independence. It increases our national security by sending less money to politically unstable regions. And it frees up money for discretionary spending by reducing the cost of energy. Thank you.
My name is Ben Hernandez, and I'm the Vice President of BMS Construction. And I want to thank you for being here at this great place, our White House. With me also is 3 of my grandchildren. They thank you too. So I'm the Vice President. This is a company that's located in Dickinson, Texas. It's family run and operated. And I'm proud to say that they've asked me to share what's happened at the company level. After 2 years of working in the weatherization program as an HVAC contractor, BMS has tripled their line of credit with little or no debt. They've developed relationships with the state and local agencies performing weatherization across the state of Texas, across Southeast Texas. This is a great accomplishment for a small company like ours. A little work history on BMS. 2006 and 2010 was an emerging company with some growth, but not the growth that we experienced during 2010. At 2010, we were selected as a weatherization contractor by the neighborhood centers out of Houston. We saw 300% growth. We doubled our office space. We added 25 permanent or full-time employees and purchased many large items of American-made equipment and supplies. In 2011, and I think you'll hear this story again, we learned the process, we perfected it, and continue to grow. 2012, well, sales are down 75%, but BMS is contracting now as a weatherization contractor in an open market. We're still employing 14 full-time employees, and we got projected growth. As an example, we're still looking for employees now. We want to add some more technicians. Equipment we purchased that was important to know, we purchased 3 box trucks. We purchased a large cargo trailer. We purchased 1 14-passenger passenger van to transport our teams on larger scale jobs as far as carpooling. We had 4 service trucks, and all of them Ford-made, and the trailers were all American-made. We're proud of that. This slide should show all the equipment that we purchased for our personal, for our teams doing the work out in the field. As you can see, there's a lot of different equipment here, high-tech, laptops, desks, and so on. This, along with over 500,000 of supplies that we bought from local and national vendors, I think we've stimulated the economy. It might be on a small scale, but we did it in our community. Weatherization technology and training. BMS bought and learned newly developed software to perform precise HVAC calculations and energy audit. That was an accomplishment on our part. And I'll share this in the industry, we got really good at this. A lot of our industry needs to follow what we did. The Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs developed a weatherization training academy for all contractors and agencies performing weatherization, and they did it free of charge. They also developed the best practice for most of the work being done. Set the standard, train the contractors, and we followed the procedures. This also required for BMS to increase the training of its technicians to meet the newly developed standards by the state and the contract owners. Standards that were strictly enforced and monitored by the neighborhood center representatives. We learned the process, ladies and gentlemen, so did the other contractors in there. We learned it by standards, we did it over and over by a procedure, and I think that was a great accomplishment. Quality at its best. BMS joined the trade organizations like Air Conditioning Contractors of America to gain access to formal training and new standards of the industry. This was also an opportunity for us as a contractor to share the stories that we learned with the rest of the contractors, and this agency, this organization is nationwide. Because of weatherization, BMS has gained the knowledge and skill to effectively conduct business as a contractor, has raised the competency level of all our employees throughout the organization, has expanded the weatherization practice into homes that can pay for the services. I like this slide next, success stories. This is what really touched my heart. When 2010, BMS contracted by the neighborhood centers out of Houston, and the centers were funded by the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, BMS was in a team of contractors that worked on 6,000 homes in the Houston area. They saw an average of $80 a month reduction in their energy bill. This times 15 years, which is the life of the measures that we put in, is about $90 million. The government cost of this program, $30 million. I'd like to get that return on my bank account. BMS is a growing company in the new energy and audit industry. Something we never thought we did, but we made that jump and we've become more successful. BMS more skilled has developed a process to provide a service for a growing demand of homeowners to save money by decreasing their energy usage. This is something when money gets tight, we talked about that. As homeowners, we look for opportunity to kind of bridge that gap. Each and every day, BMS employees educate their clients in sound energy efficient measures. Once the homeowner understands the value of the weatherization in the home, the homeowner has no problem contracting us out. It's a great opportunity. It's hard to see these slides change behind me. I hope I'm on tune.
You're good.
In summary, BMS success owes it to the learnings we experienced while performing weatherization. It's created jobs for those that had been out of work for an extended period of time. Many low-income residents of Harris County, that's in the Houston area, live in a more comfortable and energy-efficient home for using less of our energy resources. The homes weatherized cost less to heat and cool, resulting in a decrease in the amounts of government pays when energy assistance is needed by low-income families. I don't know how to measure that, but I know that's an added savings because of the program. A new industry has developed. I think we've all talked about that. We are an example of that. New technology is available in America and is sought by contractors like BMS nationwide. We bought things from Massachusetts, we bought things from California, and we definitely try to get the best bang for the buck, but we've shared the wealth. There's a great opportunity for small and minority-owned companies, since the market is new and it has not been capitalized by any one company or organization. Ladies and gentlemen, this is truly an American dream at its finest form. I thank you for this opportunity.
And Rod, do you want to introduce who's up here with you?
This is my daughter, Janae Williams, my right-hand person, and the heir apparent to energy specialists and energy savers. I'm here to tell you, or actually to take you back pre-ARA, going back 35 years in weatherization. I started out with the municipality of Anchorage. Hello? All right. Thank you. I go back 35 years in weatherization. Was hired out of, in 1978 as a CETA employee with a new program called Weatherization, where the municipality of Anchorage had just received a $50,000 grant. Over the next 5 years, I worked my way up from that to actually managing the program prior to starting Energy Specialists of Alaska in 1982. And since then, migrated to Washington and actually built this company up to the point where it's at today. We have 7 employees right now doing the ramp-up period for the ARA program. We went up to about 15 employees full-time and 4 part-time employees. Energy Savers, Inc. is based out of Washington, and it has grown tremendously over the past 7 or 8 years. And we are realizing that, for me, I've always looked at weatherization more from the social aspect. I'm going into people's homes, I'm in their space, and we're actually having the ability at that point to make a connection on a level, you know, even greater than what the impact of the energy savings are going to be. And sometimes I feel that aspect is missed when we're looking at the effects that we have in people's homes and in their lives. We're also are actually having the opportunity to affect a lot of young people. A lot of my staff that we have, these are people that are low-income individuals themselves, working with young people that didn't come out of high school and go into college. These are people that basically came out with no idea of how life was going to present itself to them. And to be able to work with these individuals and help them mature and to grow, and for them and watching them to be able to take that same attitude that I'm instilling in them and the care that I'm taking to develop them, and watching them use that ability to be able to go in and work with people from that same caring attitude is just, it's been a phenomenal and amazing experience for me to watch and grow over the past 35 years. We have a lot of our pictures here. Some of our pictures, the PowerPoint was put together by a friend of mine in Alaska. So these are some of the housing stock that we actually work in the northern part of our business. One of the benefits of ARA for energy specialists and energy savers is that we have also been able to go in and build these generational, I call this is our building generational community. This is where we've actually, this is my crew lead in a project that we did in Alaska last year, and he called this lady his grandmother. Every time we come in, she's making cookies and coffee and you know, just really telling us stories about her experiences growing up in rural Alaska. Now, getting back to what ARA has really done for my company, and we've had an opportunity to branch outside of the single family for probably the first 30 years of my business. We only worked in low-income, single-family residences. And so over the past 2 years through the ARA program, we've been able to branch more into multifamily, some light commercial work. These are some of the buildings we've worked on here, some 5 stories, low-income housing projects, tremendous results. I mean, we're proud of the energy savings that we've been able to generate, and yet at the same time, developing techniques on a level that has allowed us to move from the single family, or maybe what I'm more so is expand into areas outside of the single family, and to continue to promote and grow our business even though we're having these economic downturns and reduced fundings in the weatherization program. These are some of the projects that we worked on this year in Cordova, Alaska here. Of course, everybody knows they got hit with, unseasonably high snowfall this year. We were able still to get inside some of these projects and do some very valuable weatherization work in those areas as well. Here's our crews with one of our insulation trucks blowing insulation into air sealing and blowing insulation into the attic. We were also at this particular project did an underfloor air sealing insulation package. Here, one of our guys is doing, this is a picture of a guy doing some actually the air sealing and the insulation part of this project. Yeah, I heard earlier about, people really don't see the effects of what's actually happening on the ground floor, or we say where the rubber meets the road. Here's a guy crawling in a crawl space, and I had a crew, because the majority of our work is in attics and crawl spaces, and I had a crew in a crawl space for 6 months. I felt so bad for these guys, but that's where the work is. So. And they didn't cry about it. They realized the nature of the work. But we provide the best safety equipment for my crews. We make sure they have whatever tool they need to be able to perform their tasks to the best of their ability, and we always attempt to make them as comfortable as we possibly can. You can see how happy this young man is. Okay, this guy, he loves to work, and the fact that this ARA program was able to give him a job and to assist him and his family in providing for their needs, he is just he's appreciative beyond measure. And again, so for me, I remember going out working on my first project. We had a $1,500 budget, and if you can imagine the $6,500 and what we're able to do with that, imagine going into somebody's house who's paying $5 or $6 a gallon for fuel and try to figure out how to make $1,500 make a difference. And now that we're at a point now in our growth as a nation and as individuals, we shouldn't be trying to limit our abilities because of the funding levels. We should be encouraged right now to actually raise this limit to create the most amount of savings that we possibly can, because this is probably the last opportunity we're going to have to do this work. And this young girl here, she's hoping that we're going to make the right decisions.
Well, thank you. I think we just heard some great stories about the program, its national importance, what it's doing in the supply chain with insulation, and really what it's doing on the field from two different, or two ends of our country. There's more than two, but Texas and up in the Northwest. I'd like to open it up now for questions from the audience.
There's a microphone over here that we would request that you use. Otherwise, the live stream won't be able to hear.
Good morning. My name is Tim Warfield,
Morning.
and I've been forced to ask the first question.